With a little bit of VFX magic, I can do this. But that got me thinking, could I use this same simple method to open portals in my room to anywhere? It turns out the answer is yes. Today I'm going to be creating 4 different portals to 4 different worlds, starting from basic and working our way up to impossible.
For level 1, I started by grabbing my phone and getting some footage. I opened Blender, my software of choice, and found this model of a fighter jet that I want flying in my notebook. I opened my footage and started tracking it. By placing these squares in high contrast areas, the software can stay locked onto a specific point and then use fancy math to calculate all the movement and warps in the footage. It's a simple but cool process that allowed me to achieve this, and has allowed way more talented people to do stuff like this. After my footage was tracked, I imported it again, but this time so I can very simply animate the plane. I know I wanted it flying from one side of the journal to the other. Even though it was a bit tedious, it got the job done. Next, I moved on to the most important step, which was to recreate the same lighting in 3D as I had in my original footage. This is of course so the animation looks like it really belongs. If you're doing something similar at home, you really don't need to perfectly recreate it. You can get some great results even with a basic lighting setup. But if you're really looking to do a high-level project, the closer you can match the lighting, the more realistic it will look. A trick I heard but I've never tried is using a panorama from the same place the camera was and then using it as an HDRI. Now it was just putting a plane underneath and making it a shadow catcher, which means it won't show up in the final render, but still keep the shadow that the plane should be emitting on the notebook. It was a matter of putting the stuff together and then getting this final result. Level 2 takes it up a notch in complexity. This time I grabbed some footage but didn't want it to just be there like the plane. This time I really wanted to make something that looked like a portal opened and then I would go into it. I tracked the footage just like last time and got to work on the environment. The vibe I was going for was the concept of a brain desk, where a desk represents how your mind is organized. I really wanted something similar to what is shown in Eleven's mind in Stranger Things, where she walks in this wet black void. I watched a quick tutorial on how to get that wet look and the rest was pretty easy. So here's a quick montage. I followed that up by animating a camera and then have it appear as if though I'm there actually operating it. This proved way harder than expected, but when you see level 4, you'll see I got much better at it. After some more compositing, here's the final result. For level 3, I wanted something similar. After I got my footage, the idea was to have a sort of stone tunnel open on my wall. I would get close and then crawl inside. After I got my basic shape, I moved over to creating the material and adding some much needed texture. At this point, I decided a small orb would be really cool to light the tunnel. I didn't quite finish the material, but still decided to proceed to animation and lighting. I finished the material, and now I needed to track the footage, so a 30-second montage will do. Now some compositing. Just a basic plane track, which uses the tracking information to create a 2D plane that wraps like the footage. Then I just needed to add some sound, and here's the final result. For the final level, I wanted to go all out. With my footage, I tracked it like the previous time. It was trickier since there were so many tracking markers, but it came out really well. I then created a 3D camera using the tracking data. Basically, the software uses the data to create a camera that moves exactly like how I moved my phone in real life. This is useful for two reasons. A, if you want to place a 3D object into real footage, or B, which is what I used it for, and that's to mimic realistic camera movement in a 3D environment. I imported a nice scene I found online, and the rest was pretty simple. I rendered the footage, then created a plane track like the previous level. Then it was adding some sound and this final result. Thank you for watching.